The first time he came to my door, I thought he was going to die. The storm that night didn't feel natural. It wasn't just rain. It was violent, restless, like the forest itself was angry. Wind slammed against my small wooden house, making the walls creak like they might collapse any second. I had lived alone for years, far from the main packlands, far from people, and far from trouble. That was the life I chose. Quiet. Invisible. Safe. At least, it was supposed to be. Until I heard the sound. A heavy thud, right outside my door. At first, I froze. No one came this far into the woods. No one survived out here at night. My fingers tightened around the lantern as my heartbeat began to rise, slow and heavy, like a warning. Don't open it. That voice in my head was loud. Clear. But something else, something deeper, pulled me forward. I stepped closer. Another thud. This time weaker. Like someone collapsing. Hello, my voice barely came out. No answer. Just the storm. And something else. Breathing. Rough. Uneven. Right outside. I don't know why I opened that door. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was stupidity. Or maybe it was fate. The moment the door creaked open, the wind burst inside, nearly blowing out my lantern. And then I saw him. A man. Collapsed on the ground. Large. Broad shoulders. His body tense even in unconsciousness, like a predator forced into stillness. Blood stained his shirt, dark and heavy, mixing with rain. For a second, I couldn't move. Because something about him felt wrong. Not human. Not safe. Dangerous. But also familiar. My chest tightened, and I hated that feeling instantly. Hey, can you hear me? I whispered, kneeling beside him. The moment my hand brushed his arm, his eyes snapped open. I gasped. They weren't normal. They were sharp, intense, almost glowing in the dim light. Like something wild was staring back at me. His hand shot up, grabbing my wrist. Fast. Too fast. My breath caught in my throat. His grip was strong. Painfully strong. But he didn't hurt me. Not really. He just held me there. Like he needed to make sure I was real. Don't run, he said, his voice low and rough, like he wasn't used to speaking gently. I'm not, I whispered, even though every instinct in my body was screaming at me to do exactly that. For a long second, we just stared at each other. And in that moment, something shifted. I felt it. Deep inside my chest. A pull. Unfamiliar. Unwanted. But impossible to ignore. His grip slowly loosened. You shouldn't have opened the door, he muttered. Probably not, I said softly. But I did. Silence fell again. Heavy. Charged. Then he tried to sit up. And immediately winced. The movement exposed the deep wound along his side. Claw marks. Not from any normal animal. My stomach dropped. You'll bleed out if you stay out here, I said quickly. He let out a quiet, almost bitter laugh. Would that be so bad? Something about the way he said that. It didn't sound like a joke. It sounded like a man who had nothing left to lose. And for some reason, that hurt more than it should have. Get inside, I said firmly. He looked at me again. Longer this time. Like he was trying to figure something out. Then slowly. He nodded. Helping him inside was harder than I expected. He was heavy. Solid. Every movement controlled, even in pain. Like his body refused to show weakness. I guided him to the chair near the fire. The moment the warmth touched him, his shoulders tensed. Not relaxed. Tensed. Like he wasn't used to comfort. I didn't ask questions. I just worked. Cleaning the wound. Wrapping it carefully. Trying to ignore the way his eyes followed every move I made. You always help strangers like this, he asked after a while. His voice had softened, slightly. No, I admitted. Then why me? I paused. Because I didn't have an answer. And that scared me. I don't know. That was the truth. His gaze darkened. Dangerous answer. Maybe, I said quietly. Hours passed. The storm outside slowly calmed. But inside the room, the tension didn't. It grew. Every second. Every glance. Every breath. At some point, I realized something that made my chest tighten again. I wasn't afraid of him anymore. And that was my first real mistake. When I stood up to leave, thinking he would rest, his voice stopped me. Stay. Just one word. But it wasn't a request. It was something deeper. Something that made my heart skip. I shouldn't, I said. You should. I turned back slowly. Why? His eyes locked onto mine. Dark. Intense. Unreadable. Because if you walk away right now. He hesitated. Like even he didn't understand what he was about to say. I might not be able to leave. My breath caught. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Letting him stay for one night wasn't going to be the end of this story. It was only the beginning. He should have left the next morning. That's how these things go. A stranger comes. You help them. They disappear. And life goes back to normal. But nothing about him was normal. When I woke up the next day, he was gone. No sound. No goodbye. No trace, except the faint smell of smoke and something darker, something wild. For a moment, I stood there in silence, staring at the empty chair, telling myself it was over. It had to be. Men like him didn't come back. Men like him didn't belong in places like this. Or with people like me. 3 nights later, I heard the knock. It wasn't loud. Not desperate like before. Just steady. Controlled. Like he already knew I would open the door. And I did. The moment the door opened, there he was. Standing like he had never left. No injuries this time. No weakness. Just power. Raw. Quiet. Dangerous power. You came back, I said before I could stop myself. His eyes scanned my face slowly. Like he was checking something. Confirming something. I told myself I wouldn't, he said. Then why are you here? A pause. A flicker of something in his expression. Something almost frustrated. I don't know. That answer should have bothered me. It should have made me shut the door. But instead, I stepped aside. And let him in. That was my second mistake. After that night, it didn't stop. He came again. And again. Not every night. But enough that I started noticing patterns. When the moon was high, he came. When the forest was too quiet, he came. When I felt that strange, restless pull in my chest, he was already on his way. He never explained anything. Never told me where he went. Never told me who he was. But each time, he stayed longer. At first, he would sit across the room. Silent. Watching. Like I was something unfamiliar, something he didn't fully understand. Then he started speaking. Short sentences. Sharp words. Questions he never explained. Why do you live out here alone? Why aren't you afraid of the forest? Why do you look at me like that? The last question made my breath catch. Like what? I asked carefully. His gaze darkened. Like you're not afraid of what I am. I forced a small smile. Maybe I don't know what you are. A slow step forward. Closer. Too close. You should, he said quietly. But he never told me. And somehow, that made everything worse. Because my mind filled in the blanks. And my heart ignored all of them. One night, everything shifted. He was standing near the window, the moonlight falling across his face, sharpening every line, every shadow. He looked unreal. Like something not meant to exist in my world. You keep coming back, I said softly. I know. Why? Silence. Longer this time. He didn't look at me. Didn't move. I leave, he finally said. And something pulls me back. My chest tightened. That's not normal. No, he agreed. It's not. Then he turned. And the way he looked at me. It wasn't confusion anymore. It wasn't curiosity. It was recognition. You're the reason, he said. My heart skipped. What? I don't understand it, he continued, his voice rougher now. But every time I try to stay away, he stepped closer. I end up here. Right in front of me. The air between us felt too heavy, too charged. That doesn't make sense, I whispered. It doesn't have to. And then, his hand lifted. Slowly. Like he was giving me time to stop him. I didn't. His fingers brushed against my wrist. And the moment they did, a sharp, burning sensation spread through my chest. Not pain. Not exactly. Something deeper. Stronger. I gasped softly. His expression changed instantly. Darkened. Intensified. You feel that, he said. Not a question. I nodded, unable to speak. His grip tightened slightly. Not enough to hurt. Just enough to hold. I shouldn't be here, he murmured. Then leave, I whispered, even though my body was already leaning closer. He didn't move. I can't. And this time, I believed him. The truth came to me slowly. In pieces. In whispers. In things people weren't meant to hear. The Grand Alpha King has been seen near the northern woods. They say he's ruthless. No one crosses him and survives. Kael Varrick, the strongest alpha alive. The name hit me like a quiet storm. Kael. That night. When he came back. I was already waiting. You have a name, I said before he could speak. His eyes narrowed slightly. Everyone does. Kael. Silence. Heavy. Dangerous. For a second. I thought he might deny it. But instead, a slow, dangerous smile touched his lips. So you've been listening. My heart pounded. You're the Grand Alpha King. He didn't answer. Didn't deny it. He just stepped closer. And somehow, that was worse. Does it scare you? He asked quietly. I should have said yes. I should have stepped back. I should have ended it right there. But instead, I shook my head. Something dark flickered in his eyes. It should. Maybe, I said softly. But it doesn't. That was the moment everything changed. Because now, I knew what he was. What he could do. What he represented. And I still didn't walk away. Which meant, this wasn't just curiosity anymore. This was something deeper. Something dangerous. Something that had already gone too far. And the worst part, he knew it. Because the next thing he said wasn't a warning. It was a promise. You should have turned me away that first night, he murmured. My breath caught. Why? His hand tightened around mine. His voice dropped. Because now, his eyes locked onto mine. Dark. Intense. Unavoidable. I'm not going to stop coming back. And deep down, I already knew. I didn't want him to. Even if it ruined me. I knew it was going to end badly. Love like this always does. Too intense. Too fast. Too dangerous to survive in the real world. But knowing something doesn't mean you can stop it. The night everything broke, he didn't come. For the first time since he started returning, Kael didn't show up. At first, I told myself it meant nothing. He was busy. He had a life outside of this place. A world far bigger than me. But when the second night passed, something inside me started to crack. By the third night, I couldn't take it anymore. I stepped into the forest. The same forest everyone warned me about. The same forest that belonged to him. To his kind. To his world. Every step felt wrong. Like I didn't belong there. Like the shadows were watching. Waiting. Judging. But I kept going. Because something inside me needed answers more than it feared danger. And then, I saw it. Light. Firelight. Voices. I moved closer, careful, silent. And that's when I heard his name. The Grand Alpha King has made his choice. My heart stopped. The alliance will be sealed tomorrow night. Alliance. He will take her as his Luna. Everything inside me shattered. Luna. A wife. A queen. Not me. I stepped closer without thinking. And that's when I saw him. Kael. Standing tall, powerful, untouchable. Exactly where he belonged. And beside him was her. Beautiful. Elegant. Strong. Everything I wasn't. She stood close to him. Too close. Her hand resting lightly on his arm like she already owned him. And the worst part. He didn't move away. Something inside my chest broke so violently I had to press my hand against my mouth to stop the sound from escaping. So this was the truth. I was never part of his world. Just a secret. A moment. Something temporary. I turned to leave. I didn't want to hear more. Didn't want to see more. But then. His voice cut through everything. Lyra. I froze. Slowly. I turned back. His eyes had found me. And in that moment. Everything else disappeared. The crowd. The woman beside him. The world. It was just him. Looking at me like I was the only thing that mattered. And I hated it. Because it made leaving impossible. What are you doing here? He asked, his voice sharp now. Tense. Almost angry. I laughed softly. But it broke halfway through. I think I should be asking you that. Silence fell. Heavy. The woman beside him stepped forward. Her eyes scanned me slowly. Judging. Cold. This is her, she asked. Her. Not even a name. Kael didn't answer. That was enough. Something inside me hardened. I didn't know I was interrupting something important. I said quietly. Lyra. No, I cut him off. My voice trembled, but I didn't stop. You don't get to say my name like that. Not here, not in front of her. The woman's lips curved slightly. Not a smile. Something worse. You should leave, she said calmly. I looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't wrong. I didn't belong here. But before I could turn, Kael moved. Fast. His hand caught my wrist. The same way he did the first night. But this time. It hurt. You don't walk away from me, he said, his voice low, dangerous. Something inside me snapped. I'm not yours to stay, I whispered. Silence. For the first time. I saw it. Conflict. Pain. Something breaking inside him. They chose this for me, he said. And you let them, I replied. That hit him. I saw it. Felt it. You think this is what I want? His voice dropped. Then why does it look so easy for you? No answer. That was my answer. Tears blurred my vision, but I refused to let them fall. You should have stayed away, I said softly. His grip tightened. I tried. Not hard enough. Silence. Heavy. Final. And then. I pulled my hand away. This time. He let me. That hurt more than anything. I walked away. Step by step. Each one heavier than the last. I didn't look back. Because if I did, I wouldn't leave. And I needed to. For myself. For whatever dignity I had left. Days passed. Then weeks. I went back to my life. My quiet. My loneliness. But something had changed. Because now. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was empty. And then one night. There was a knock. My heart stopped. Slow. Steady. Familiar. I didn't move at first. Didn't breathe. Didn't think. Then. Another knock. I walked to the door. Hands shaking. Heart breaking all over again. And opened it. He was there. But different. No royal clothes. No power on display. No distance. Just him. It's done, he said quietly. My chest tightened. What is? His eyes locked onto mine. Everything. Silence. I walked away, he continued. My breath caught. From the alliance, from the throne, from all of it. Why? My voice barely came out. He stepped closer. And this time. There was no hesitation. Because none of it mattered, he said. A pause. Not without you. Tears finally fell. You gave up everything. He shook his head slowly. No. His hand reached for mine again. Gentler this time. Careful. I chose everything. Silence wrapped around us. Soft. Warm. Real. This won't be easy, I whispered. I don't want easy. His forehead rested against mine. I want you. And for the first time, I didn't pull away. Because love like this was never meant to be safe. But maybe, just maybe, it was meant to be real.